In every neighborhood, there's that house. The one no one mentions. The one where the air seems colder around it. Where even the birds don't linger. In our neighborhood, it was the Thompson house. Abandoned for decades. With windows so dark they felt like eyes watching you. And every night at 2:17 a.m. a faint light flickered in the upstairs window. Nobody dared go near it. Not until my best friend Jake decided we should be the brave ones. "Let's go tonight," he said. His voice hushed like someone might hear us. "You're insane," I snapped. But his grin, half excitement, half something else, made me agree against my better judgment. That night, with flashlights in trembling hands, we snuck across the overgrown yard. The weeds seemed to grab at our ankles, slowing us down, as if the house didn't want us there. When Jake pushed the front door, it opened with an agonizing creak that seemed to echo forever. The air inside was thick and damp, and every breath tasted like mildew and rot. Furniture sat frozen in time, cloaked in sheets that looked like they hadn't been touched in decades. Jake nudged me. "Upstairs," he whispered, pointing to the staircase. The steps groaned under our weight, the sound like an unwelcome alarm. At the top was a narrow hallway with doors lining both sides, but one door at the end didn't belong. It was pristine, its paint untouched by time, its brass handle polished. "That's where the light comes from," Jake said, his voice breaking. Closer we got, the more unnatural the air became. It was colder here, and the faintest smell of burnt candles lingered. I wanted to turn back, but Jake reached out and twisted the handle. The door swung open. Inside was a small, simple room, a neatly made bed with sheets too white, a rocking chair in the corner, and a single table with an unlit candle. Yet the room seemed to glow faintly, as if the light didn't come from any source we could see. "See, it's just a room," Jake whispered, stepping inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, the rocking chair began to move. "Stop messing around," I hissed, though I knew he wasn't touching it. The chair creaked, swaying faster now, as if someone invisible was sitting in it. Then, suddenly, it stopped. The door behind us slammed shut. Jake and I spun around, our flashlights darting across the room. The glow from the candle intensified, casting long, jagged shadows on the walls. That's when we noticed them. The walls weren't empty. They were covered in scratches, deep grooves that formed words. "Get out, don't look." My heart hammered in my chest. Jake whispered, "What does it mean, don't look?" Then I saw it, in the mirror above the table, our reflections. They weren't moving like us. They just stood there, staring back, grinning wide, too wide, their teeth unnaturally sharp. "Jake," I choked out. The reflections stepped forward, pressing their hands against the glass. Then one of them lifted a hand and waved. Before I could scream, the mirror shattered, but the figures didn't disappear. They stepped out, their movements jerky and wrong, their eyes glowing like embers. One of them lunged at Jake, pulling him toward the rocking chair. He screamed, clawing at the floor as the chair began rocking again. This time violently. I froze, paralyzed with fear, as a shadow darker than night poured from the chair and swallowed him whole. "Run!" Jake's voice was muffled like he was screaming underwater. I turned, clawing at the door, which now had no handle. Behind me, the room filled with whispers that grew into guttural wails. A hand brushed my shoulder, cold and wet, and I felt breath on my neck. I don't know how I escaped. The next thing I remember, I was lying on the lawn, sun just beginning to rise. Jake was gone. No one